Welcome back to Judge of Character, the show that puts some of your favorite comic book characters on trial. And today, it's all about justice, more so than usual with the Justice League, and one member of the team in particular, because today's case is, does Cyborg belong on the Justice League? Okay, so let's start things off with the obvious. The Justice League has always had a bit of a problem when it comes to diversity. Now, on the other hand, when we look at Marvel and the MCU, especially in the beginning, they managed to sidestep this with two major factors. Number one, when they were first brought to the big screen, they were brought together and heralded by Nick Fury, who was inspired in the Ultimate comic books and portrayed in real life by Samuel L. Jackson. And secondly, when you look at that first on-screen team, you might notice that their members differ greatly from that of the original comic book, which might just be Earth's Mightiest Heroes' biggest advantage, because most people don't have a preconceived notion of a very specific roster that they want to see representing the Avengers. Sure, there might be some staples like Captain America, but let's remember that Captain America wasn't an original member when they started out in the source material. And I should also point out that the current Captain America in the MCU is played by Anthony Mackie. So now, when we look at the comic books and we look at the big screen, we'll notice that the actual team of Avengers keeps evolving and changing because people don't have set expectations. The same can't be said for the Justice League, as most of us do have a pretty solid idea of who we want to see as members of the Seven. Oh, and speaking of that particular number and on-screen superhero teams, it's pretty interesting that DC ran with the campaign of Unite the Seven for the Justice League and the DCEU, even though they wouldn't have 7 members on the team. That's just how ingrained the concept is to so many comic book fans. But it's not just how many members, it's also the particular members as well, as most of us are expecting to see Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, and Green Lantern as part of that team. However, the last member, that's where things can get interesting. Now, Hulk fans aside, I would say that the most popular 7th member of the Justice League would be Martian Manhunter, who also seems to be one of DC's earliest attempts at solving inclusion issues with the Justice League, as the character has often been portrayed by African American actors. But this does create another problem, because if you're looking to include some diversity, it doesn't really help matters if you cover up your black actors with green makeup. And even without a green covering, they're still playing an alien, which is not exactly including an African American into the team. Also, by that rationale, a black Superman or a black Hawkman isn't going to solve the issue either. However, how about Green Lantern, as they did in the DCAU with the character of John Stewart being the Green Lantern of choice for the team? But this does create other problems, as John Stewart isn't exactly the most popular of Earth's first 3 Green Lanterns. Some would even say he's probably the least popular. Although there does exist another solution, as some have suggested the idea of turning Hal Jordan black. But then again, let's not forget that over the past decade, DC has mostly tried to distance themselves from the Green Lantern franchise, a move which I don't agree with, by the way. After the 2011 film, Green Lantern hasn't gotten a second chance yet, with him even being left off the team entirely during the original cut of the Justice League. Anyway, putting aside the idea of changing races of members who are currently on the team, DC does have another solution, which finally brings us to the question of the day with Cyborg. Now, adding Cyborg to the team does add other benefits, such as bringing some youth to the Justice League, something that they're mostly lacking in. And this does make sense, as he's most famously a member of the Teen Titans. But that is probably the biggest piece of evidence against him, as many Cyborg fans will note he's a much better part of a different team that he's well known for being on. And in order to justify his position on the Justice League, DC has mostly separated him from his Teen Titans past, much to the dismay of many of his fans, especially considering the very popular cartoon, as well as that he was created specifically to be a part of the Teen Titans team. Booyah! Although Victor Stone does bring other things to the table too, such as technology. Looking at the MCU, Marvel banked all of it by kicking things off with Iron Man, a very tech-based hero, to which Cyborg has a lot in common with. But there are going to be those who point out that Batman is really the Justice League's tech guy. But lastly, Cyborg's Mother Box origin ties directly to Darkseid, who also ties into the origin of the Justice League itself. However, this is a relatively new phenomenon, as both origins used to be very different. All this leads to many people asking that if you're looking for inclusion in the Justice League, then why exactly does it have to be Cyborg? Why are you looking for this particular African American character for the Justice League of America, when arguably there are other characters that might have earned this position a lot more? Well, there you go. The arguments for and against Cyborg being the 7th member of the Justice League team. What's the actual verdict? Well, that's up to the jury to decide, as in you. Vote in the poll below, as well as leaving a comment to your thoughts on the situation, and we'll let you decide his fate. Anyway, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and please leave a like for this video. And as always, Dave knows.